Okay, so imagine this.
You're trekking through this like crazy lush rainforest.
The air's thick.
Humidity, sounds of exotic birds everywhere.
You stumble across this hidden creek.
Bend down for a drink.
And you see something glittering just beneath the surface.
Oh,
gold.
Wow.
Like something out of an adventure movie.
Right. Totally.
But this is real life.
In Papua New Guinea,
This nation is
flowing with natural resources.
It really is.
We're talking gold, copper, oil, natural gas.
You name it. PNG's got it.
It's unbelievable, the sheer abundance of natural wealth in PNG.
Right. It's crazy. Despite sitting on this treasure trove,
PNG is still one of the poorest countries in the Pacific.
Yeah. It's a real contradiction.
It really is.
And that brings us to today's deep dive.
We're going to explore the bold vision of Prime Minister James Marape,
who's on a mission to make PNG the richest Black Christian nation in the world.
It's certainly ambitious.
It's a mouthful, right?
It is, and fascinating. How do you even begin to unpack that statement?
You've got faith, economics, national identity, all kind of swirling together in this really ambitious goal.
It's a heady mix.
What do you make of it?
Well, let's start with the whole Christian nation aspect.
Okay.
Marape's not just talking about encouraging people to be more religious, He's talking about formally intertwining religious and national identity.
Wow.
That raises some big questions.
Yeah.
Is that something...
Historically speaking...
Have we seen work before?
There are definitely precedents, yeah.
Outcomes have been really varied, though.
I mean, think about some countries in the Middle East where religious law is a fundamental part of their legal system,
Yeah.
Or even nations in Europe with official state religions.
Okay.
The impact can be really different depending on how it's implemented and how much diversity exists within the country.
It can create a sense of shared values and social cohesion in some cases, but also spark tensions and conflicts in others.
That makes a lot of sense.
And it makes you wonder, how might this play out in PNG specifically?
I mean, it's a country with a rich tapestry of indigenous beliefs and a growing Christian population.
Absolutely, a complex mix.
Could this move toward a Christian national identity unify the country?
Or could it alienate certain groups, create new divisions?
It's hard to say for sure.
It's a crucial question, though.
It is.
And then there's the question of how this ties into the economic aspect of Marape's vision.
Right. The richest nation part of his goal.
Exactly.
What's the strategy then?
Well, Marape's plan really hinges on maximizing PNG's control over its own resources.
Right.
Particularly those lucrative liquefied natural gas projects, often shortened to LNG.
LNG, huh? Okay.
So for those of us who don't speak acronym,
Right.
What are these LNG projects all about?
Essentially, they involve extracting and processing natural gas found in PNG, turning it into LNG, which can then be shipped and sold internationally.
It's a complicated and expensive process. And historically, a lot of the profits from these projects have gone to multinational corporations.
I can imagine.
And Marape wants to change that, right?
Exactly.
He's been very vocal about renegotiating the terms of these resource deals, aiming to secure a much larger share of the revenue for PNG.
Okay.
He wants to make sure that the wealth generated from these resources actually benefits the people of PNG.
Not just lines the pockets of international companies.
Which, on the surface, sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
But is it really as simple as just like renegotiating a few contracts?
How realistic is it to expect these multinational corporations to just play ball?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Right.
Marape's banking on his ability to leverage PNG's position as this resource-rich nation.
Right.
He's basically saying, look, you want our resources, you have to play by our rules.
But these companies, they're savvy negotiators. They have a lot of leverage themselves.
For sure.
It'll be really interesting to see how this power struggle plays out. And how does Marape plan to actually translate this potential surge in revenue
into tangible improvements for the people of PNG?
Because even if he gets a bigger slice of the pie,
right,
there's still the question of how to distribute that wealth effectively.
Yeah.
And address all the deep-seated challenges facing the country.
You're absolutely right.
Securing those resource deals is only the first step in a very long and complex journey.
And that journey, my friend, is exactly where we're headed next. So we've got this potential windfall from resources.
But then there's the challenge of actually using that money.
In a country as geographically complex as PNG,
yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a nation made up of over 600 islands.
It's true.
And it's not just the islands themselves.
You've got towering mountain ranges, dense rainforests, this network of rivers that carve up the landscape.
Wow.
Getting around PNG.
It's not a walk in the park.
No kidding.
It's more like an epic obstacle course.
So how do you even begin to build a strong,
unified nation when you're dealing with that level of geographic separation?
Well, that's where infrastructure comes in.
Okay.
And I'm not just talking about a few new roads here and there.
Right.
We're talking about a massive, coordinated effort to connect the country.
Okay.
Roads, bridges, ports, airports.
These are the building blocks of a modern economy.
Especially in a place like PNG.
Right. Without them.
It's like trying to assemble a puzzle.
But half the pieces are missing.
And I imagine that lack of infrastructure has a real impact on people's daily lives.
Absolutely.
Think about it.
If you're a farmer in some remote village.
Getting your crops to market, it's a huge challenge.
Right.
If you need medical care.
Yeah.
Reaching a hospital might take days.
Oh, wow.
Education, business opportunities.
All of it relies on being connected with the outside world.
So, in a way,
infrastructure isn't just about concrete and steel.
It's about connecting people to opportunities.
Exactly.
It's about everyone having a chance to succeed.
Regardless of where they live. And that's something that's been sorely lacking in PNG.
Okay, so we've got resources.
You've got infrastructure.
What else is standing in the way of Marape's vision?
Well, there's one more elephant in the room we need to address.
Yeah.
Corruption.
Right.
It's a problem that's plagued PNG for decades.
And it's a major deterrent for foreign investors.
And a source of frustration for everyday citizens.
That's something you hear about a lot in developing countries.
Is corruption in PNG really that bad?
Let's just say it's a significant challenge.
Transparency International, the global watchdog group,
right,
they consistently rank PNG quite low in their corruption perceptions index.
Which means businesses and individuals often have to navigate this web of bribes and shady dealing.
Oh, wow.
Which drives up costs and undermines trust in the government.
Which then makes it even harder to attract the investment PNG needs to develop its economy.
Precisely.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is, yeah.
And it's something Marape has pledged to tackle head on.
Okay.
He's talked about strengthening anti-corruption agencies.
Promoting transparency in government contracts.
And empowering citizens to hold their leaders accountable.
Those are big promises.
But are they achievable?
I mean, tackling corruption is like trying to weed a garden that's been neglected for years.
It's going to take a lot more than just good intentions.
You're right to be skeptical.
Corruption is deeply ingrained in many aspects of PNG society.
Yeah.
It's not going to disappear overnight.
But there are examples of countries that has made significant progress in fighting corruption.
Often through a combination of strong leadership,
institutional reforms,
and a real shift in public attitudes.
So it's not impossible.
But it's going to be an uphill battle.
It will.
What would you say are the key ingredients for success in a fight like this?
Well, first and foremost,
you need a leader who's genuinely committed to fighting corruption.
Okay.
Not just paying lip service to it.
And that commitment
needs to be backed up by concrete actions.
Not just words. It's like they say, right? Actions speak louder than words. It takes guts to really go up against those entrenched interests and try to change a system that's been, rigged for so long.
For sure. And it's not just about going after a few bad apples, right?
Right.
You need to create a culture where corruption just isn't tolerated.
Okay, so let's bring it back to Marape's grand vision then.
He's facing some pretty steep odds, right?
Yes.
You've got, the logistical hurdles, the corruption challenge.
And this whole question of whether a nation can really find economic prosperity through a particular religious identity.
What do you think? Is this all just wishful thinking? Or could PNG actually pull this off?
It's definitely a long shot. I mean, let's be realistic. There are plenty of reasons to be skeptical, but
there are also historical examples of nations that have managed to overcome some pretty incredible challenges and transform themselves in some really remarkable ways.
Like who? Give me some hope here.
Well, look at South Korea, for example. Back in the 1950s, they were ravaged by war, poverty, heavily reliant on foreign aid.
Right.
Fast forward to today.
They're a global economic powerhouse.
Wow.
Or consider Botswana.
A country that went from being one of the poorest in the world to a middle-income nation.
In just a few decades. Largely thanks to good governance and strategic investments.
So you're saying that while PNG's journey won't be easy, it's not totally impossible.
Exactly. But it's going to take a lot of things coming together.
Like what?
Strong leadership, of course.
Yeah.
Smart policies. Commitment to tackling corruption.
And let's be honest, a bit of luck along the way.
And probably a whole lot of hard work for the people of PNG themselves.
Without a doubt.
It all comes down to the PNG people,
Okay.
Their willingness to buy into this vision, to hold their leaders accountable.
And to work together to actually build a better future.
So what you're saying is, this is a story that's still being written.
Precisely. And that's what makes it so fascinating, right? Will PNG become this shining example
Of how faith, economic empowerment, and national identity can all come together.
to create a more prosperous and equitable society?
Or will it succumb to those same challenges that have held it back for so long?
Big questions, no easy answers. I guess only time will tell what the future holds for Papua New Guinea.
It really is a story worth paying attention to.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that even when the world feels predictable, there are still places where things are changing,
Where history is being made.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe PNG will surprise us all.
Maybe. It's a potent reminder that the future is never set in stone.
And even seemingly impossible challenges can be overcome. With enough will, ingenuity, collaboration.
Well, folks, there you have it. A deep dive into the complex and compelling story of Papua New Guinea. What do you think? Is PNG on the cusp of a remarkable transformation? Or is this a case of misplaced faith in grand promises? Share your thoughts with us on social media using hashtag PNG Deep Dive. We'd love to hear your take. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.